Hello, this is Max again. I'm just driving around my area because I just ate I ate some dinner about an hour and a half ago, and right now I'm drinking some coffee. I know it's probably not the healthiest thing to do, but I'm drinking some coffee because I need some energy for my next workout. But it's a really intense cardio workout, so I'm actually not supposed to eat within 2 to 3 hours of it, and so I'm just kind of driving around and relaxing a little bit, reflecting and that type of thing. That way, when I get back to my apartment, my body will be in the right state. And so earlier, I made a video about like a few minutes ago. I made a video about. I kind of went off on a rant about people giving advice excessively, especially unwanted advice. And so I decided that I think I want to make a positive video, because as important it is to talk about things like that, social issues and stuff like that, I also don't want my channel to be one of those channels that's always negative, always talking about like problems and that type of thing, because I don't want people to think that I'm like a guy with a bunch of problems. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about today, and I might even redo this, with a better apparel, but I wanted to talk about one of my passions, and one of the things that I absolutely love is college football. I've always loved college football, even when I started going to university roughly 4 or 5 years ago. I fell in love with college football. It's one of those things that's always extremely exciting, and when I decided that I was going to attend Harvard University about a year ago, I kind of wondered I always wondered if like Ivy League schools had football teams too, because I know a lot of universities like mine are kind of known more for their academics. And I found out that, lo and behold, all 8 Ivy League schools actually have sports teams. A lot of them, including American football. And today I just kind of wanted to mention, one of my, I guess, kind of odd passions, and that's Ivy League sports, particularly Ivy League football, and why I love it so much. So when most people talk about college football, as you all know, most people usually talk about, the big state universities, the Power 5 conferences and all that. And that's all very exciting. Don't get me wrong, I love watching schools like Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State and OU and all those schools play, because all those teams are amazing teams, and they pretty much never lose up until like the last or second to last round of the playoffs. And anyone who's a fan of those teams, they know that it's a fun journey, that they're fun teams to follow. I mean, even if your team doesn't go all the way to the national championship, it is a heck of a ride to follow one of these amazing teams. But one of the divisions that doesn't quite get as much attention as the Power 5 conferences is the Ivy League sports. And one of the reasons that is because, well, for one, Ivy League schools, their sports teams are much smaller most of the time. Maybe not in terms of like numbers, but in terms of like, I guess, attention and that type of thing. And another thing is that like Ivy League schools are also, as everyone knows, more well known for their academics. People don't usually go to schools like Harvard or Yale or Princeton, and with the intent of, well, I shouldn't say this, but with the intent of, playing sports. Most of the time they go there for education and things like that. But that's not to say that going to one of these Ivy League schools to become for athletics is a bad thing. I mean, I think, I've actually done some, of my own research on, D1 athletes and that type of thing, and, sports and that of, private universities and that type of thing. And, most of these athletes, they train hard too. They're strong, and, they play great games. It's just that, Ivy League schools, it's not it's not like football, for example, is not like Harvard's prime. You know what I mean? It's not like what Harvard's known for. You know, it's not like Alabama or Clemson, where like you know, it's the schools that are known for having amazing football teams. And so, but it doesn't mean that Ivy League football isn't fun to watch, because, you know, I, for one, love watching all kinds of sports. And one of the things that I've begun to really love watching is Ivy League football. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, Harvard's my school and I love football. And so, you know, I've seen videos of the games and clips and that type of thing. And, you know, the games draw decent crowds, but, you know, not compared to the average Texas university, like you know, UT or A&M or anything like that. But, you know, they draw a decent crowd. But I love the sport of football. I love reading stories. I love the recruitment process, and, you know, seeing who's this year's captain, who's this year's starter, you know, who's gonna win the Ivy League championship this year. Oh yeah, and see, that's another thing too. One of the big differences between Ivy League football and the Power 5 conferences is playoffs. Ivy League teams, they only play each other. They don't actually compete. You know, unlike schools like Stanford and Duke, they don't actually compete in Power 5 conferences, which means that they don't compete for the national championship. I don't think they can. Oh, they can't. They can't, because they're in a different division. And so, that's probably another one of the reasons why Ivy League sports don't get as much attention as like Power 5 conferences. And there's probably millions of reasons, but I just wanted to talk today about, that's just kind of what I wanted to discuss today. Like, one of my odd passions is, you know, my passion for Ivy League sports. I don't know, personally, I think it's also a matter of, you know, character and that type of thing. Because, you know, I'm not saying that, like, athletes from other, like, state universities aren't multi-talented and that type of thing, but I always personally kind of found it to be a very admirable characteristic when someone can compete in a sport at such a high level, which in college, you know, it's all competitive. You know, there's no, you know, that everyone's athletic, everyone's strong, you know, and for someone to be able to attend and get a degree from an Ivy League school while playing a sport like football or basketball or hockey at the same time, I think is incredibly impressive. And, you know, nowadays with new age technology, you can actually watch videos and stuff of, you know, of like what the day in the life of a like Ivy League football player and that type of thing, and you actually find out that, you know, just like athletes in like the Power 5 conferences, you know, Ivy League sports athletes also train very hard. They also train sometimes 2 to 3 times a day. They also do all that stuff while getting an Ivy League degree. So, you know, once I found this out, I've ever since, I've just been immensely impressed by the you know, the perseverance and intelligence of just Ivy League athletes and D1 athletes, period. That's not to say that athletes from other state schools, you know, aren't amazing too. I don't know, it's just something I want to talk about. You know, it's a personal passion of mine. So if you've never checked it out before, you know, I highly recommend, you know, if you have extra free time, you know, check out Ivy League sports. You know, if you're someone going to one of the Ivy League schools, you know, watch the games, you know, have some fun, you know. I think it'll be worth your time, for sure. I think it'll definitely be worth your time.